Starting with it, as I said, that today's session it's an introductory session, and instead of directly jumping into the main topic into Cyberark, we'll first discuss the backend scenarios. Like, why do we need Cyberark? What things are secured within Cyberark? What risks do we have with them? That's something we do. First question that you are getting here, and you'll be getting in the spam industry as well, is what is privileged access? Because spam is basically privileged access management. So if you're managing an access, if for the spam you have multiple tools in the market, you should know that what is a privileged access. Privileged access is basically any elevated access on a system. You are using an account and that account is having additional permissions, elevated permission on that system. That means the account is having privileged access on that system. Right? We have two types of accounts, read accounts and write accounts. The read accounts using which we can log into a system and we can go through the contents of it. Write account is the account using which we can log into a system and we can modify the things there, add new things, modifying the existing things, deleting the things. All of these things can be possible. Okay, so your read accounts, they are normal accounts, but these write accounts using which modifications are getting performed, these are the privileged accounts in the architecture. Okay, for these privileged accounts itself, we have multiple tools in the market. Cyberark, it is one of the tool there. Okay, what it does is it will be securing your privileged accounts, right? Whatever accounts you have on whatever servers you have it, you just take them out, you get their details, and you onboard everything into Cyberark. That's what you do. You don't store your data, you don't store your server, you'll be storing the accounts through which you are accessing that data or that server. So CyberArk is a privileged access management tool that is working with privileged accounts. Right? I hope that was clear for everyone here. Next thing,
Yes.
yeah. Next thing, what happens that because we are starting with security, so you should know that what are the types of accounts, what are the types of privileged accounts. Why should you know this? Because for every different type, there is a different segment of security. So if you are starting with it, you should know that within CyberArk, what type of segment will be used for what type of account. Okay. For privileged accounts, if you see, we have two types of them. First one is interactive accounts. Interactive as in the account that is used by the users. Users are interacting with them. And the second one is non-interactive accounts. It is the account that is not used by the users. Okay. Non-interactive. Used in the backend by application, by machine softwares, but not used by the users. Both of them can be privileged, both of them can have additional rights on that system, but one is used by a user, another one is not. Okay. For interactive privilege accounts, we have some examples here. First example, if you see, it's super user account. Now, does anyone know here what a super user account is?
Admin root users.
Right, like the default, by default, the most powerful accounts of a system is something we call as super user. Okay. For example, if you have worked with Unix system type, there you have root user accounts, the default most powerful account using which all of the operations are performed. Admin accounts, very common in Windows system type. We have admin accounts using which modifications on the Windows servers are performed. And we have sysadmins then, super user of database, using which the database team will be working with the servers. Okay, so all of these are super users. That means they are having higher permissions, they're having higher privileges, and all of them are used by the admins of the system. Root is used by the Unix administrator is used by the Windows admin, and sysadmin is used by the database admin. Okay. So an account that is used by a user and an account that is also having higher permission. So the example of privileged interactive account. Okay. We use a lot of accounts in our daily life. We log into our laptop, let's say. Okay. Then we access this Zoom through an account. So all of these are interactive account itself. But some of them are privileged, some of them are non-privileged. Only the privileged ones will be onboarded, will be secured within CyberArk. Okay, non-privileged ones, for them, they're not having any permission. They cannot do anything, they cannot modify. So they don't have risks associated with them. It's the privileged ones for which you are having risks. So we secure that. Next example that we have here, it's Active Directory domain admin account. Does anyone know about this Active Directory here, or has worked with it or heard about it? Anyone here ever heard about the Active Directory or ever worked with Active Directory?
Yeah, it's like basically where you like create all the users groups, and so that's basically you keep all the information on the user groups, computers, network, all those things.
Right. Active Directory is basically a digital directory for your organization where the organization is keeping the details. Now, what details? Details about the users, whatever users are working there, the privilege accounts, servers, computers, domain controllers, everything, like everything the organization is having, that detail will be stored on the Active Directory. Okay. Now, because the Active Directory is the digital repository, it is a digital directory. So there will be a team working with the directory, the administrator team of the Active Directory. That administrator team, what does they do? What do they do is they create one administrator account on the directory. Okay, it works on Windows, so yes, administrator account. So they create one administrator account on the directory, and using that, they manage the directory. They create new users or they delete old users, they modify things there. Everything will be done using this Active Directory domain admin account. So again, an account that is used by the admin team, like users, and an account using which the entire Active Directory domain is getting managed. Things are getting added, things are getting modified. So the example that we have for interactive privileged accounts. Okay. Next thing, the next example we have here is non-interactive accounts. As I said, that these are the accounts that are not used by users. It will be used by a machine in the backend. Users don't use it. What do we have for this? So for this, we have two examples here. First example is hard-coded credential. Does anyone know about it? What is hard-coded credential?
They does not change frequently, not dynamic.
Not that. Hard-coded credential, or basically hard coding of credential, it is defining the credentials in a script. Okay, you have a script and you define the credentials to it, and now the script is using it. Script is initiating a login and script is performing the task. You're not doing anything. That's what we call as hard coding of credentials. Okay. So in hard coding credential, what is happening here is a script automatically is using it, initiating a login and performing the tasks. So still modifications are done. Account is getting used, but not getting used by a user. So an example of non-interactive privilege accounts. Okay. Next example we have here is services. For services, what happens that whenever we install a software, whenever we install an application, or even your machine, the software applications, your machines, everything they have a lot of backend tasks for themselves. Okay. If let's say if you're having a meeting on Zoom, if I have installed the Zoom on my machine, in that case, for the Zoom to work, the Zoom creates a service for itself on the server. Okay, let's say I have not installed Zoom, I am accessing it from the browser. Then the browser to work, the browser creates a service for itself. Okay, everything that you have, every application, every system is having a service for itself that performs all of the backend tasks. Correct? Now, sometimes what happens that these services to perform the functionalities, they also have to log into a different system to do the tasks there. Okay. And for this, what do they get is they get the credential of that different system. They use that credential, they initiate a login automatically, and they log into the target. Okay. So again, an account is getting used. Yes, the service automatically in the backend uses it, but an account is getting used, modification is getting defined. So a privileged account is getting used, but users are not using it. It's a service that's using it in the backend. So in both of the examples, we have non-interactive accounts, script or the service is using it, but using it, modifications are getting performed. So non-interactive privilege accounts. Is that clear? Any questions, anyone?
That should be fine.
Yeah. Now, as I said that you should know the types because for every different type there is a different segment of security. What happens here that for interactive accounts, we follow a segment called PAM, Privileged Access Management. Okay, for non-interactive accounts, because there are non-interactive accounts getting used in the backend by applications, by scripts. So there we have a different segment that we call as application access management. Okay, mostly if you're working somewhere, you will get the priority for interactive accounts itself because they are used by users. Passwords is very much exposed. Every user is having it. For non-interactive accounts, users are not using it. It's defined in a backend in some script or in some service. So not as much exposed as your interactive accounts. Okay. That is why whenever we have to choose between it, we always choose the security of the interactive accounts. Okay. All right. Moving forward from here as well, as you said that you don't have any questions. No questions, right? Were there any questions from the previous tab?
I'm good. Yeah, we can proceed.
Okay. So what happens here that till now we have discussed that what is a privileged account and what are the types of privileged accounts so that we can implement a security solution accordingly. Next thing that we should know is the risks that are associated with your privileged accounts. You should also know the risks associated. Why? Because if you don't know the risks, if you don't know the problem areas, you won't be able to solve that as well. So we'll discuss the risks quickly and then we discuss the solutions that we are getting from Cyberark. If you talk about risks, the first risk that you see here is privileged identity is the most important account in the enterprise, and privileged accounts are described as the keys to the kingdom. Okay, what does that mean? To understand this, let's just take an example of your Active Directory account. Okay, you have your Active Directory. Within the directory, as discussed, that it is a digital repository, digital directory. So everything is placed there. Your user details, your privilege account details, server details, everything is there. Now there is an Active Directory team that's managing the directory. They are having an account, Active Directory domain admin account. They are using it and they are managing the directory there. Okay. One problem that you can get, that if somehow this Active Directory domain account gets compromised, the credential of this gets compromised, then the attacker, he can access your directory, and within your directory, because you have everything, all of the server details, all of the user details, all of the privileged account details, so everything will be attacked there. Okay, it's not about having one account. Losing this one account, you're losing everything that's there. Okay, that's how important your accounts are. That's how sensitive your accounts are. If you don't secure them, they can get attacked, and if they get attacked, the data from your organization will get accessed. Okay, and it's not only about Active Directory. Yes, Active Directory is important. Yes, it is having multiple servers details. Yes, it is having multiple user details. But it's not like that other servers that you have, their details are not important or less important. Other servers as well are having the data on themselves, and any data for your organization is important. Okay, without them, like if it is hacked, if it is attacked, in that case you will be losing some or other thing. Okay, that is why every privileged account that you have, every privileged account that's there in the architecture, it should be secured by a security tool. Because if they are compromised, if they are lost, you will be losing the key to the kingdom. Is that clear? What's
Yes.
the
Yes.
first issue? Yeah. Next thing that we have here, next problem that we have here is access held by various teams and control of these are not centralized. The very common practice that we usually see in organizations. Usually, what happens that whenever we have an organization, there we have different servers, different teams will be working there, different teams will use different accounts there, correct? And if let's say there is an auditor, what this auditor will have to do, this auditor will have to go to different servers, will have to go to different teams accounts. Why? So that they can audit things, so that they can get the things, right? If they want to get all of the data together, that won't be possible. If there are thousands of servers, they'll have to go to all of them one by one. They'll have to get the details from all of them one by one, and that's how the auditing will be done. Okay. And if the auditing is done in this way, if the control, if the things are not centralized for your logs for the users' activities, in that case, auditing will become very much difficult. Auditors might miss on details, they can miss on servers, miss on different accounts, and in this way, the things will be out of control. Tracking is not done in a proper way. Things will go out of control. You won't know that what is exactly happening there. Okay. So another issue, if you have accounts, if users are using them, no matter how many teams are there, no matter how many servers are there, every detail, every account should be monitored. It should be audited by the auditors. And for that, we need a centralized repository that we can get only if we have a security solution. Okay, so another risk, auditing is not done if your accounts are hosted like this. Okay, and we need auditing. Next thing after this is access control and accountability issue. So what happens to understand this? I'm sharing a new screen of mine. Just let me know if you can see that. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Last risk was users were not accountable for their actions. Okay. Whatever they are doing, they're not accountable for their actions. Why? Because let's say we have a server here. Okay. Let's say we have a server here. Just showing you that how things work without Cyberark and how will it work if Cyberark is there. It is a Windows server, for example. Okay. Windows server is having a privileged account on itself. Privileged account password is XYZ. And right now there is a user who wants to log in here and wants to access this server. Any answers from anyone that how will he do that? How will this user use this account and log into the server? Any guesses, anyone?
Think
Like,
first he will send a request to the database, maybe an authorization token or something.
okay, not that basically here, not a request and all things enable. We're talking about a very simple scenario that there is a user and he wants to connect to a server, to a Windows server, and for which what he needs is he needs a connection client. Okay, what is a connection client? Connection client is a software that allows a user to connect to a different remote server. Okay, let's say from my machine, I want to connect to a different machine remotely. I will be launching a connection client on my machine, defining the details. What details? IP address of the server where I want to connect. Next thing I will define is the credentials of the account using which I will be logging in there. And once defining all of these things, my connection will get established. Okay. Let's say the same thing is happening. This user, he wanted to connect here. He is having this privileged account credentials. He launched a connection client. Right now it's Windows. So for Windows, we use a remote desktop connection client. He launched that. Here he'll be defining the IP address. Let's say it is 1.1.1.1. Okay, just a sample IP. After clicking on it, he'll be asked for the user credentials. Okay, whatever user credentials he's having, he'll define privilege account as the username, XYZ as the password. After doing this, his connection will get established to the target. Okay, that's how users do it. Users, they launch a connection client, they define the server details like the IP, credentials, and through which they connect to the target. So it is done. User is connected to this server. Now let's say user did some modification on the server. He created some files, okay, or let's say he added a new user here. Okay, did some activities and then logged out. Now we have an auditor. Okay. Auditor is responsible to audit things. He wants to check that what this user has done here. He will log in. Okay. So this is auditor and this is user one. So auditor logs in here to see that what activity user one has done. Here, what will auditor see? that whatever local logs are created on the Windows server, on this server, it is saying that privileged account has done all of these activities. Okay. What user used the privileged account? Who logged in? Nothing about that. Because the privilege account was used to log in, because the privilege account is created here, so logs that were created, it said that privilege account did that. What user was behind that, you don't have any information. Okay, and this is where you get a problem. All right, users are getting in, they are doing activities, they are getting away, logging out, and their activities are not getting mapped. Their IDs are not getting mapped. Okay, whatever an auditor will see, it will show up that the privilege account has done all of these things, or this is what has been performed by this privilege account. What user was behind this? Nothing about it. And in real time scenarios, what happens? That one account can be accessible for multiple users as well. So in that group of people, what user was behind this, or is the credential compromised? What's the case? Let's say some unauthorized activities has been done. So who is the user behind this? No detail, no accountability for this. Okay. And this is what you have the most important risk within CyberArk. If users are using an account, if your users are getting into a server, they should be accountable for their actions. Okay, that is why what do we have is, instead of using a connection client, we now implement CyberArk. Okay, CyberArk will be here, placed here in between. Users before, they were going to the connection client, they were having the credentials, they were using it directly. Now the users, what they'll do is they will be asked to go to CyberArk. Okay, they log in here. Once they go to CyberArk, on CyberArk, they don't have to define credentials. Within CyberArk, the accounts will already get onboarded. Okay, this account, it's already onboarded here. So whenever the user gets in, he will see this account. You don't have to know the password, you don't have to define the password. He will see the account, he will be using it, and he will be launching a connection to the target. Okay. With this process, what happens that whenever the user logs in, let's say he logs in CyberArk, CyberArk creates an entry for his activity that user one has logged in at this point of time. Again, user one is using this privileged account at this point of time, initiating a connection to this target server. Like you get the IP address, and on the target server, whatever user one is doing, that as well gets monitored, it gets tracked by CyberArk. So whatever he did in his entire session, it will be coming under one log. User one initiated a connection using privilege account connected to this server. On this server, these are the activities he did. You get the time, you get the activity log. Okay, and everything is available on CyberArk. You don't have to go to the servers to get these logs. Everything is available here. Right, and in this way the auditors task as well, auditors to get the things from one single place will be possible. They can get in here, every log, everything is here, they will be going through that log and they'll be getting the details. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what CyberArk does. It makes every user to be accountable for their action. It provides a centralized repository for the auditor so that they don't have to go to different place for the auditing purpose. They'll be getting it all together in one place. And the last thing is users, they don't have to even know the password. The password is not exposed here. Users, they just have their own ID. They log into the CyberArk and they use everything from here. So password is not getting exposed in this case. Okay, going back to that screen. Yeah. So these are the 5 risks that we had with your architecture without CyberArk. Moving forward, the next thing we will be doing is the requirement of a PAM solution, and basically this covers the things, the features that you're getting from a PAM solution. Okay, if let's say you know the risk, then how CyberArk is able to prevent all of them? What features do you get from CyberArk? That's what is discussed here. First feature that we see here is managing the PAM accounts. So we know CyberArk is a PAM tool. It is a tool that secures your accounts, onboards your accounts and secures them. But CyberArk is not only about securing, it's not only about onboarding, it's about managing those accounts. And how will it manage those accounts? By rotating their passwords. Let's say you had privilege account's password was XYZ, you onboarded it. Okay. Now, after onboarding, the password will not remain static. Static passwords are always a risk. So within CyberArk, what do we get? Is we get an ability, we can define a policy there. Password should change after every 7 days, 10 days. You define it, and automatically CyberArk will be changing the password of all of the accounts that's onboarded there. So passwords are getting rotated, and if they are getting rotated, the risk of getting them exposed will reduce. Okay, and rotating the password is basically a very common practice. If you have your net banking account there as well, after some time it asks you that your password is expired and you should change it. Why? So that you don't have a static password there. So whenever you have important accounts, it's always advised that you keep their passwords rotating. Mostly in most of the portals, they ask you to do it. Within CyberArk, CyberArk will be doing it automatically. Okay. Next thing is limit the access to the PAM accounts. So again, we know that CyberArk, it's a repository, a centralized repository where everything is placed. All of the logs, all of the accounts, all of the policies, everything is there. Okay. So does that mean that every user that is getting into CyberArk, he will get access to everything that's we have there? No. CyberArk again is having a feature that it can limit the access. It can filter out the information. Okay. If you have an end user needs access to one privileged account. Whenever he logs in, he'll see only that privileged account. If you have an auditor needs access to logs and recordings. So whenever they log in, they will be getting the access to the logs and all. Nothing else, no other accounts or policies. CyberArk administrators, they have to do a lot of things within CyberArk. They have to add accounts, they have to define policies, they have to work with the configurational settings. So when they log in, they get all of these things available for them. Okay, but every time, like on every user, the CyberArk, it's filtering the data. Whatever he is having the authorization to access, only that data will be retrieved and it will show up for that user. So role-based access, or uh, least privileged method, something we call this, is granted within CyberArk. Nothing is exposed, nothing is overshared. Okay. Next feature that we get from CyberArk is audit trails. Whatever we are doing, whenever a user gets in, whatever account he is using, whatever server he's connecting to, the activities he's doing there, everything is tracked by CyberArk. And for the tracking purpose, CyberArk does 2 things. First thing is it create logs, audit logs, the text log that this user is doing this activity, and it also records the sessions. That means whenever a user initiates a connection from CyberArk, CyberArk will start a screen recording whatever he is doing, everything will be recorded by Cyberark, and all of these recordings will be available for the auditors to audit. Okay, so yes, text logs are there, but along with that, recordings as well is there. Okay, one more thing we get from Cyberark is MFA, multi-factor authentication, a very common practice these days. Mostly when we go to banking portals, we define our credentials, user credentials, and just after defining the credential, it asks us for a code or an OTP. Okay, that's something we call as multi-factor authentication. Within CyberArk as well, if user one is going there, if user one is trying to log in there, user one will first define his credentials, his login ID, and the password. And after that, he can be asked to go through another layer of security. It can be anything, any authenticator tool getting integrated with CyberArk, or he'll be getting an OTP, a code. Whatever it is, he will have to go through that, define that, and only then his login will be allowed. So, additional layer of security that's applied. Next thing we have here is just in time or temporary access. Now, this is a feature through which we can grant temporary access for the users. If there is a user, he is working on contract basis, he needs the access to CyberArk, but only for a few months or few days, then what you can do is you can select him, search for him, you can grant every permission that he needs. And after granting the permission, you can also select that on this date, his access should automatically get deleted. Okay. If you do that on that day, automatically his access will be deleted and he won't be able to use anything after it. Okay. So yeah, basically some of the features that we get from CyberArk, not all of them, but yeah, that's how you know that what CyberArk is doing to secure your accounts. Any questions, anyone in this?
All good from my end.
Okay. So when we start with CyberArk, as I said, that it was an introductory session. So we just discussed about the basics. But when we start with CyberArk, we'll get to know a lot more functionalities, a lot more features that we get from it. Okay. Um, Moving forward and quickly covering the syllabus that you'll be getting here. So this course, it starts with the introduction of privileged access management. Okay. Here we have three things to discuss: the enterprise pain areas, the associated risks, what risks do you have, where do you have the problem, and the solution. Okay, the features that you can get from a PAM solution. Basically, the thing that we did in today's session, introductory session. Next thing is module 2. Module 2 is for the overview of CyberArk. So till now, we don't know a lot of things about CyberArk. We just know that it is a security tool that onboards your accounts and secures it. But within CyberArk, like when we say CyberArk, it's not a one component tool. We have different components within it. When we combine all of them, then only you would get CyberArk, and every component is having its own functionality, its own feature. So, what is the entire architecture of CyberArk, the different components, their features, functionalities? What is the workflow within CyberArk? How will a user get into CyberArk? How will the connection from CyberArk will get to the target? That overview is something we are going to do in the module 2. Okay. Once that is done, once we know the basics of CyberArk, then we move in detail, like we discuss about the components in detail. We have four components within CyberArk: CyberArk Vault, Password Vault, Web Access, Central Policy Manager, and Privileged Session Manager. We'll be discussing about all of these components in detail. Their detailed discussions, it takes time. Vault, because it is one of the most important things. So its theory itself, it takes around 3-4 sessions. PVWs and the other components theory, they don't take a lot of time, but the vault theory takes time. Okay. Now, how do we work here is first what we'll do is we'll start with the vault theory. Once the theory of the vault is done, you'll be getting the lab, the server for the vault, okay, within which you will get the vault setup file already is placed. You'll be using that setup file. You'll be starting with the deployment of the vault. covering the network part, prerequisites, and then the installation. Similarly, with password vault web access, central policy manager, and privilege session manager, the same thing. We first discuss the theory part. You get a server on which the setup files will be there. We'll be checking with the prerequisites, network, port, and one by one, we'll be doing the installation of all of the components. Okay. When all of the components are installed, that means you have the entire architecture. And when the entire architecture is deployed, then we'll be performing the operations. For operations, the first thing we start with is Active Directory integration. Active Directory, we know it is a digital repository, and mostly the things that we have, it's there on the Active Directory itself. So that is why to use Cyberark as well, to get some automations, to get the users automatically added into Cyberark, we integrate Active Directory with it. And once you have the components, you can start with this integration. For this as well, we do the same thing. We first discuss about it in detail, the theory part, and then we'll be performing this. Next, we have email notification engine. So this is a system that is used to trigger auto-generated email alerts within CyberArk. So what is it, how it works, the integration part, we'll be covering that. Next thing is module 6, that is for the policy creation. So within CyberArk, we have policies to govern your accounts. What are the policies? In what case we define what policy? How do we create exceptions? That will be covered here. Module 7 is for account integration. Account integration is basically onboarding of accounts. So how different types of accounts are onboarded within CyberArk, that will be covered. Safe management. Within CyberArk, what do we have is we don't store the account directly into the storage system. We first create some safes. Okay, different safes for different types of accounts, different types of information, and then we segregate the information within it. Okay, so how are the safes created? How are the users added on the safes level so that they can access the accounts or other information? How do you enable dual access control? How do you enable object level access control? That's something we do here. Module 9, it's for the use cases within CyberArk. So user onboarding, adding a user to be a member of CyberArk. Single sign-on, how do you enable SSO? Password reconciliation, if there is an issue with the password, then how do you fix it? Okay. Access privilege of user accounts in PAM. So how do you grant users access? Two-factor authentication, again, the MFA thing. Dual access control, controlling the access of the users. Auditing and reporting whatever CyberArk is monitoring for the user activities. How do you audit it? How do you generate the reports of it? We have sessions for it. Session recording, we know that CyberArk, it also records a session. Where do you get the recordings? In what format will you get it? How can you access it? Users on offboarding. If let's say you don't need a user, you now don't need an account. So how do you delete that? That's something will be covered here. Next module is troubleshooting. So in CyberArk, along with performing the operations, along with onboarding accounts or adding users, if something goes wrong, if something is not responding, in that case, troubleshooting is the thing that will be done by you as an admin. So whatever issues are mentioned here, we'll be covering that in the troubleshooting part. Okay. And the last module that we have is disaster recovery module. Within disaster recovery, we will be having, like, disaster recovery is basically a backup of your architecture. So how do you take a backup? How do you set this up? How will this take over if the primary architecture is down? Everything will be covered in this particular module. Okay, and that's what we are offering to you. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any questions, anyone?
So just one question. What is the difference between the live training versus the pre-recorded one?
In the recorded one, you don't get you don't get to interact with me, and you don't get my access to solve all your issues and all. And
Okay.
live sessions, You can ask your questions if you're having it in the real sessions. If you're having a doubt, I will be there to help you with all of that. But in recorded one, you just get the videos. There will be no help. You just go through it and implement it. Okay.
So in the
Yeah.
pre-recorded sessions, you get the environment to set it up.
Yeah. You get the labs in both of these things.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. Anything
Like,
else?
Ritika, do you
Yeah.
provide any practice tests after completion of this course?
Practice what?
Practice tests to help us with certification.
Yeah, like any practice questions or something.
Okay. For that, like for certifications, there will be dumps provided to you. So after the sessions, the first thing I would advise you is after the session, you just revise everything, whatever we have done in the course, go through the recordings. Along with the recordings, you get some more documents. I'm sharing that one as well. Okay. So this is a document that is install lab guide. Within this, what you get is you get the installation of all of the components covered, right? If you start with the Vault's installation, let's say. Okay, page number 12. Right. So you have this step. You have to log into the Vault server as an administrator. Okay, you have to go to these paths to get the file. Like you get the recording, but to revise it with the document is much more easier and less time taking. So first thing is you go with the recordings. Second thing is you check everything here because it is also having some additional documents that's not covered in the videos. So you'll be going through it for the revision. If you see, you have every step. You start with this setup, you get this tab there, you go next, then you get the license agreement page, you click on yes, everything is here, the steps with the screenshots. Okay, you'll be revising things, and as I said, that you have additional topics. Once this part is done, then you get this dump that is there for the certification. Okay, here you get the questions along with the answers here. Okay, you'll be practicing through this, and along with that, you even get some questions on the Cyberark's official website. So when we start with the course, I'll show you that where can you find that and how can you go through it. Like they are available on the official site of website, but they are not chargeable. So yeah, a very important thing that you can go through if you're planning for the certifications.
Yeah, this is if we stick to this course and this document, that is enough certification.
Yeah, as I said, that whatever we are covering, that's enough for the certification, but it depends
Okay.
on you that how much you're practicing and how much you're remembering the things,
Okay.
right? You will be getting two documents. One will be there for the installation, one will be there for the operations. So how do you perform the operations? Everything, platform management, safe management, account management, it's added over here, and you'll be going through it.
Hmm.
Okay.
And is it not necessary to have any prior knowledge of networking or Linux?
No, for CyberArk administrators, no. CyberArk, it works on Windows only. What you'll be responsible to do, yes, you'll be onboarding different types of accounts from different servers, but for that you don't have to you don't have to be a pro of using different servers. You just have to know that how to onboard the accounts from them. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
Yeah, what is the current demand for Cyberark currently?
Right now, there are openings for CyberArk. You get openings for every level, level one, level two, three, all of them. Okay. When you are going with the course, you go for the level one job
Okay.
roles because, right, you'll be starting with CyberArk. And once you know the idea, like once you have the idea of this real-time architecture, then you can move to level two as well. Level three will take time. That's there for the architects. So for that, you have to wait. But in 1 year
So,
you can get
so
promoted to level 2
other
as well.
than CyberArk, any other PAM solution is there the company is using?
Like tools similar to CyberArk that's offering the same service. That's what you're asking.
Okay.
What was the question? What did you ask?
Means other than CyberArk, a company using any other PAM solution?
Yes, there are different tools as well, but right now the demand for CyberArk is high.
Okay.
There are a lot of openings
That
for
means
CyberArk.
most companies are using
CyberArk,
CyberArk only.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And Kritika, like from tomorrow, can we start the session like 9 a.m. IST if possible?
For tomorrow, we don't have the session. We'll start it from Monday because we wait for the confirmations and all. And
Okay.
9 a.m. won't be possible because I have another session from 8 to 9, but I can start it at 9:05.
Yeah, like 9 5 because Sydney time because I have the office timings over here. So that was mentioned by me from that group. So like 9 to 10 o'clock, that should be fine, I guess.
Yeah, 9:05 I can start because sometimes what happens, the sessions they get extended. So
Yeah,
I don't want to rush on things. So that's
sure,
why I
sure.
want to keep a gap of at least 5 minutes
Five
between
minutes.
two.
Yeah, that should be
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, that should be fine.
yeah.
Okay, that's it from my side. Yeah.
All right. No other questions? All right. In that case, that's what we have for today's session. For the recordings, you'll be getting it in some time. And if you have any questions related to the batches, related to the timings, you can ask to your coordinators for that.
Thank you, Kritika.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank